and numbers of kids that end up being in different parent arrangements in their lifetime, have increased. So there's different reasons why, and all these things are not necessarily bad, and they're not bad in some cases, but yet they still can lead to stress on parents, working and then having to take care of the kid, and especially working. And that's kind of what we're going to talk about today, is parental leave policies. Countries have leave policies for parents so that they can quit their job, take care of the kid for a while, and then be secure that they can go back to the same job without having to apply for a new job, without taking a pay cut or a reduced status in the job. So we're going to talk about that some, because if that wasn't there, that safety net of that job security, then think of the extra stresses that would be on our parents. They would be, they want to take time off to be with the kid, but then they might have to reapply and take a lower position 6 months later or a year later or whatever. So I'm going to just say a few things, not too much about the history of parental leave policies. We're going to go over the policy in America. And then, like I said, you guys are going to, I'm going to break you into groups, and you're going to do an exercise where you develop a parental leave policy that you're also going to get extra credit for the class. So, like going to a lecture, but depending on how good your policy is. But so let me just give you a brief history. It's not that long of a history. In Germany, Bismarck in the late 1800s developed the kind of first nation to develop a leave policy. They called it the social insurance law. That included health insurance, paid sick leave, and also a paid maternity leave for people in Germany. Not too much to say about the 1919, just the first kind of international convention where kind of rights of workers related to kind of health needs and caring for kids' needs was organized. So there's not a terribly long history of this. That's 85 years ago. As of World War II, there was actually compulsory leave, but no job security, meaning you had to quit your job if you were going to have a kid, but you weren't necessarily protected to get your job back. So it wasn't benefiting moms in particular, in terms of their job status. In the as I mentioned, the rise of women in the workplace in the 60s and 70s, there was more and more demand for leave policies, and in fact, different countries responded to that need. So as of the, even in the 70s, many Western European countries, Portugal, Spain, Finland, Canada, France, Netherlands, different specific countries. And then in the 80s, Denmark, Ireland, Greece, Switzerland, Great Britain, all had these national policies related to leave when a child was born. It wasn't until 1993 that Bill Clinton signed the Family and Medical Leave Act in the United States. So I mentioned this at the beginning of the semester. The United States generally is socially, meaning social policies like this related to health and stuff, more conservative than conservative, meaning we're more let people take care of themselves and less kind of mandated universal kind of government-sponsored kind of care for these kinds of things. And you can see how most of our Western European allies had policies in place up to 20 years earlier than we did. So we were kind of one of the last to get on board. Well, what does it say? What is the Family Medical Leave Act? The length of the Family Medical Leave Act is 12 weeks, being 3 months. meaning you don't get paid either by the government or by the employer. It is job protected, meaning you get that job back. And it's within the first year of life. You don't have to take it immediately. It doesn't have to be the first 12 weeks after a baby is born. And in fact, and I'll get to this in a second, Family from the Medical Leave Act isn't just for newborns, but you can take this. It covers you for sicknesses, like serious sicknesses, either of yourself or a spouse or a child or another, like an adult, a parent that is. It also covers adoption. It's not just newborn babies, but adoption. Foster children. One clause, though, that limits how much it helps the American family is that it's only if an employer has 50 or more employees is the employer mandated to give you this leave. So if it's a small company, less than 50 employees, this doesn't apply. Only for larger companies. So that right there eliminates 45% of working moms out there, because that's just a breakdown of how many companies are 50 or more employees. So it's limited that way. What else? Target employees. A couple other things. You have to have worked there for a year at that company to be eligible. And if you're in the top 10% of salary at that company, they can also nix you, not give you the leave. And I don't really know, I assume that's because, that like VPs and things, they are considered critical of the business, and so they don't necessarily, the policy is trying to protect companies from losing their kind of high-level employees. Well, let me give you some examples of, so that's our policy in a nutshell, and here's what some other countries have. "128 nations have policies. The average length is 1.5 years of these different policies. So we're 12 weeks, which is 3 months. The average policy is 1.5 years. The average of those that have paid leave, the average paid leave is 16 weeks. We don't have paid leave at all. And the paid leave on average is 70% of whatever your job. It's not 100% necessarily what you were making, but the average is 70%. Typically, employers pay for at least part of that. It's a kind of a combination of the government and the employer paying the paid leave. Some countries have mandatory leave that you have to leave. In fact, of the EU, European Union countries, 12 of the 15 have mandatory leaves. So the mom or the parent has to take off. Other countries also, it's not just a matter of leave, but they have policies where you get some sort of birth allowance, either money or even in goods. My understanding in Great Britain is that you get some sort of package that has like blankets and things like that that would help you take care of the infant. Well, so let's look at a couple policies here. U.S. is on the bottom, obviously. I won't read all of these. Let's see. Australia, you get a year, 52 weeks. Germany, like I said, Germany's always, they're considered kind of more socially progressive in terms of policies, so they've always gotten a lot. Like I said, they were the first. 14 weeks at 100% pay. For additional parental leave up to 2 years at a flat rate. And additional unpaid parental leave up to 3 years. So up to 3 years. So you can see that. So you can see how the U.S. kind of compares versus some other places, yeah. But in the U.S., so we have it's not as bleak as in terms of what's available to parents. and to mothers in particular is not as bleak as just the national policy would indicate, because states have policies as well, although not a majority do. There's 20 states that have job-protected maternity leave, so that would be in addition to what the Family and Medical Leave Act is. There's 10 states that have paternity leave for dads, job-protected. And then additionally there are, businesses, more and more, it's been the case that because of pressure from especially women working, that businesses will have some sort of policy for their business. So especially, female-dominated professions like at schools or in hospitals, but even other kind of any larger company is likely to have some sort of policy for their women, or they face not getting women employees, not as many of them. Just a few statistics about what happens when, in America, when moms give birth. Half of them are working at the time they give birth, meaning they're employed, not that they're working that day or something, but they're in a job at the point that they are giving birth. Half of them, after giving birth, return to work in 3 months, which is the end of this. So it's definitely a thing that American moms, in particular women, want to get back to work. Often need to get back to work. So it definitely is an issue in terms of supporting our moms in particular, but also dads. And then within a year, about 2/3, about 63%, have gone back to work. So it's clearly an issue. We have to get out of the mentality of kind of, two parents at home, dad's making a lot of money, mom's staying home, and therefore is there. We've got to kind of face this issue as a society. And how can we support our growing infants and toddlers? Let's see. Video just quickly here. It's going to talk a little bit from just to say a few things about the health side for moms, for why leave is important.
Is among the millions of women who are balancing career and family.
We're going to bring all the regional in.
She's a manager at the St. Paul Companies in Minnesota and the mother of 2, with a 3rd child on the way. Just as she did with her first 2 children, she'll take a 12-week maternity leave. Because Teresa works for a large company, the Family and Medical Leave Act allows that much time. But most women work for smaller companies, and the law doesn't apply to them. The standard leave is usually just 6 weeks. That's because historically, the postpartum period was considered to be 6 weeks, the time doctors believed it took the sex organs to return to their pre-pregnancy state.
And this is really a fallacy. We're finding that the postpartum period is much longer than that.
Dr. Jernigan found in many women a range of health problems persist for several months and even up to a year after delivery, including fatigue, feeling down, lack of ambition, dizziness, hemorrhoids, respiratory infections, and sexual concerns. Another study finds women who take a leave of at least 6 months do better emotionally.
They had more vitality, they had better mental health in terms of less depression, less anxiety, and they had less limitations in their daily activities at home or at work. I think definitely that policymakers need to look at this. I believe that we are expecting too much of women in this country, to expect that they will go back to work after delivery, say at 6 weeks, and handle all of their home and personal responsibilities as well as a job and a new baby.
Both researchers agree some women do fine with a 6-week leave.
Good, because I know we'll get that agenda.
But Teresa Schugel is grateful for the opportunity to take longer leaves.
Because if I look back at 6 weeks and think where I was with both pregnancies at 6 weeks, my children were nowhere near sleeping through the night.
Consider taking off enough time to get back on your feet.
Dr. Jernigan recommends new mothers take as much leave as they can get. For those who can only get a 6-week leave, she suggests getting extra help and support from the spouse or friends and family. Rhonda Rowland, CNN, St. Paul, Minnesota.
you. So that video talked about maternal health. Additionally, there at least is one study that I know of that looked at, say, 3-month versus 4-month leave and kind of did moms' attitudes about being a mom and their attitudes towards the child, and found that they just have an extra month, found significantly higher levels of kind of positive feelings about being a mom. So, and there's that might be directly, or it could be because of some of the things that we just heard about in the video, kind of feelings of postpartum depression in some moms, or other health things, or it could just be it's stressful to have to work and then come home and take care of the kid, especially when you want to be with the kid the whole time.